Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Wake Up Wednesdays. So, wake up. These Wake Up Wednesdays are an opportunity for us to reinvigorate one another and recalibrate towards our plan. And the way that we do that is by picking up our GSD list, which is an outcome driven list that we write and we refer to each and every day. Because if we are not referring to our outcomes and making progress towards our outcomes, then what's the point anyway? All we were doing is going from meeting to meeting to meeting. We're double and triple booked. We get to the end of the day and it feels like a blur and nothing gets done. We have multiple pings adding up, multiple calls, multiple emails, multiple queries in the system, and we're just busy and we're not productive making progress toward our outcome. So, welcome to Wake Up Wednesdays and Wake Up. I want to talk to you guys about an article that I posted in the group chat this week. And I'm just going to check my notes here to make sure that I don't miss any of the important details that I wrote in the article. The article was entitled New Year, New Sprints. Do you use the power of zero? Do you use the power of zero? So we're going to talk about starting the new year with Sprint Zero as a game changer for your Agile teams. So why does Sprint Zero matter? Sprint Zero is the foundation of a successful Agile year. It's the prep work that's going to align your team, refine your backlog, and ensure you have everything needed for smooth execution. All right? Think about changing the oil in your car before a road trip. You don't want to get stuck on the side of the road. You don't want to break down. Good opportunity to go under the hood, check everything, make sure everything's ready for this trip you're going to take all year long. Now, we do this by breaking things down into four key categories. So the first question you want to ask yourself is number one, how will you set clear objectives? Now, we've talked about this many times. We're going to continue to talk about it over and over and over again. This is the concept of an OKR, or an objective and a key result. So do make sure that you have quarterly outcomes that you want to track to, and you set SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound goals. Do make sure that you prioritize the backlog with stakeholders, and that you identify the items with stakeholders that are going to be in your first, second, and even third sprint to prevent last-minute scrambles. If you do this, you'll always set yourself up at least one sprint ahead. You'll never have to scramble and start pulling things in and out of the sprints. So don't overload the backlog. Keep it clean and keep it lean. If you start having to move things constantly in and out of sprints, if you didn't set up your sprint zero or your next couple sprints the right way, now you're disorganized. So stop and do it over again. Don't skip out on vision alignment. Make sure you understand the top of the house vision and how what you're working on is directly associated to that. Otherwise, you're going to be out of alignment. Now, one of the new things we're going to be doing for this new year in Wake Up Wednesdays is having an AI tool spotlight. AI has been all the rage in 2023, 2024. And if you're not using AI in 2025, you're going to get left behind. So we're going to talk about AI tools to help you for each of these four sections, and we'll talk about them going forward in all of our Wake Up Wednesday sessions. So the first tool is ChatGPT. You want to use ChatGPT to draft goal-setting templates, OKR templates, refine objectives, think about ways of measurement and alignment across teams. It can be used as a first level draft to help you think and get started so you don't waste time, and then you can refine it. You can be the final editor of them. Second thing you want to ask yourself, number two, what does the infrastructure establishment look like? What does the infrastructure establishment look like? So make sure you set up tools and you set up systems. These are things like Jira, like Confluence, like Microsoft, Excel, or any other project tools that you want to configure and make sure that you're tracking against your work and your work is visible. Define these workflows. How are stories going to work? What's the process stories are going to go through? What's the story form template going to look like? On average, how long should it take a story to be filled out? How long should it take for a story to close? You want to think about that, not only for stories, but also for bugs and subtasks. How are these things going to be handled beforehand? Don't ignore training needs. If you're going to be using new tools, or if you're going to be using these tools more aggressively than you used in the past, make sure everyone on the team knows how to use the tools. At the very least, do a very short refresher, 1 hour or less, to make sure everyone knows how they're using it, why they should be using it, and the value add for them. Do not delay technical setup. If you know that you need to have testing environments up and running and ready, if you know you need a certain specific cut of data to be in these environments for testing, whether these are for development testing or user testing, make sure that you discuss these things in sprint 0 so you're set up so that they're ready in sprint 1. Don't just start setting them up all willy-nilly. So what's the AI tool spotlight for this one? Atlassian Rovo. Atlassian Rovo can help you automate backlog grooming, workflow setup, generate ideas. This is Atlassian's, it's Jira's new artificial intelligence smart tool, Atlassian Rovo. The third category, and the third thing you want to ask yourself, number 3, what will you do to strengthen team collaboration? What will you do to strengthen team collaboration? So do make sure you hold the kickoff meeting, you bring everyone together, and you get aligned on goals and the purpose of Sprint 0. Foster an open dialogue about what's expected, and the RAID log, which includes the dependencies, your risks, your assumptions, your issues, dependencies. Do make sure you assign clear roles. Who's the product manager? Who's the designer? Who's the developer? Who's the agility lead? Who's the architect? Who's the scrum master? Etc., etc. Make sure everyone knows what everyone else is doing, and it's clear. You may think it's clear because it's clear to you, but it isn't clear to everyone else, so make sure you point it out. If you're doing this in person, don't be afraid to use name tags. Name tags go a long way with the person's name and what they're there for. Forget about their titles. Your title doesn't entitle you to anything. What you are there to do and serve. I might be some high-level director, but if my role in the team is the scrum master, no one need know that I'm a high-level director. They need to know that my name is Mark and I'm a scrum master. Right? So titles don't entitle you to anything. Make sure everyone knows what their roles are so they know who and what they should be talking about. Do not micromanage your team. Do not micromanage your team. Do not micromanage your team. If you micromanage your team, you're going to stifle creativity and morale. They're going to run away. Make sure once you clarify the roles, you trust people to take ownership of roles, and you have check-ins along the way to see that they're doing it. Don't micromanage and don't overcomplicate things. Make sure you keep things simple and straightforward. I worked with a team one time that was managing cash flows for a major financial institution, and at the core of it, they were very simply building a dashboard to display these cash flows across different slices and dices of data. We already have the data. Can't stress that enough. Getting the data in a homogenized way is always part of the challenge, but we already have the data. It was just displaying the data based on different user preferences. And if you would have listened to the conversations between the product teams and the tech teams, you would have thought that they were working with Elon Musk to build the next rocket ship to go to another planet. It was so overcomplicated. It was ridiculous. So when you notice that these things are happening, this is where you want to step in and you want to shepherd the process. So what's an AI tool you can use for this? Obviously, I'm a Zoom guy. We're talking on Zoom now. I love Zoom. I think Zoom is a great virtual communication tool. They have an AI tool called Zoom AI Companion. What this can do is automate summaries, give you action items. Once again, as a first level draft for you to edit. So as you're continuing down the path and having conversations, if people are overcomplicating things, you can use the Zoom Companion to send out summaries to see when you can get things back on track and not overly complicate. The fourth and last question you want to ask yourself, number 4, is how will you validate assumptions and risks? How will you validate assumptions and risks? Okay, so identify risks early on. You want to use a risk assessment matrix, and you want to discuss potential challenges and mitigation strategies. So the rule that I have is for every one challenge that a stakeholder brings up, and they're allowed to speak their mind. Never want to shut people down. Always allowed to speak their mind. For every one challenge that they bring up, they must bring up at least 2 viable solutions. Now they can't say, well, we'll just do this and it's some $5 million solution and 5 million is in our budget. You have to build viable solutions. So that's the rule. For every one risk, you have to bring up 2 viable mitigation strategies that we can figure out and discuss. You want to validate assumptions and test critical components. So if an assumption is this API will communicate system A to system B, well, we need to test it. If the assumption is this data will be safe and secure when we migrate to this third-party cloud service, well, we want to test that assumption. Is it really safe and secure? Do we have any load balancing issues? We want to test this stuff. Don't ignore red flags. Do not ignore red flags. You have someone with high level of technical expertise on your team, a cloud architect, and they say, I don't like how this third party is configuring our cloud environment. I think it's opening us up to security issues. Don't ignore those. That goes in your RAID log. And you want to make sure you have a mitigation strategy in place. And you look at that early. Don't rely on gut feelings. Don't think that it's your job to listen to everyone and then you make a decision based on your gut. Don't do that. You want to vote on things so you have a data-driven process. You vote across product, across operation, across tech, and maybe some other nuance. If you're working with clients or legal or something like that, maybe an AI expert. And all 3 or 4 of you guys and gals come together to look at the issue, and then you vote on moving forward. Don't rely on your gut. Your gut may be right 100% of the time, but do you want to take a risk that it's not? So trust your gut, vote as a team. Vote as a decision. So how can you do this? The AI Spotlight is using Microsoft Copilot. If you have your RAID log very simply inside of Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, you can use Copilot to assist in creating that and making more detailed matrices and giving you insights into the data and asking the questions and having that second opinion. It's another point. All right. So let's wrap this up to go like a deli order. Sprint Zero is your opportunity to start the new year with clarity, alignment, and purpose. By setting clear objectives, building the right infrastructure, fostering collaboration, and validating assumptions, you lay the groundwork for success. So as Sun Tzu says, plan for what is difficult while it is easy. Do what is great while it is small. Sprint Zero is that first, easy, small step. So what's your call to action? Call to action is 3 very important things. Number 1, review your team's tools and workflows. Get ready for Sprint Zero. Yes, you heard that right. Sprint Zero, get ready for, so everything's lined up for Sprint 1 and 2, maybe 3. Number 2, schedule a Sprint Zero kickoff meeting this week. Don't waste any more time. We're already 2 weeks into the new year. Make sure you align on goals and risks. Number 3, use AI tools to help you and your teams out. The number 1 tool I think you should use is Atlassian's Rovo inside of Jira. All right. Guys, thank you so much for this opportunity to think about the 4 key categories of how you can approach Sprint Zero and all it can do for you and your team. Let's talk again soon. Remember to hustle harder, and I'll see you later.